took the business to $1 billion in funds under management. And then the strength, yeah, very cool. The strength of the brand then allowed the business to acquire many other businesses. So by the time I left, it was $10 billion in funds under management, with the smaller brand actually being the one to drive the investment dollars and the growth of the larger fund. So that to me, again, just underscored like brand can have a tremendous impact on business.
Hey, so this is Troy Assoignon here, and I'm here with Amanda Gordon. And I just want to interview you on, I guess, we've talked about a few things. We've worked on a couple things. You and I chatted like a month or so ago. You're growing your consulting practice. I guess tell us a little bit about you and what you're working on.
Yeah, nice to be here. Thanks, Troy. So I'm Amanda. I am a brand forward, creatively driven CMO. And I work with businesses who want to turn customers into fans and brand love into business results. And I also write a newsletter called The Case for Brand. So really making the bottom line business case for a bold brand. And I have started consulting in the last 6 or 8 months. So making that transition from being full-time in-house working to working for myself.
Awesome. So I guess when we first started chatting, initially you actually reached out and you're like, hey, like, can we connect? And I was like, oh, cool. Like I vibed with what you put out. So I was like, yes, absolutely. So what were some of, I guess, the challenges you were facing? And what motivated you initially to reach out?
Yeah. I think one of the reasons I reached out was I felt like you do a really good job of selling in a really authentic way. And you've obviously got all the experience to back that up. And I felt like I have the experience to consult, but was really kind of getting in my own way and not putting forward the right offers, not really selling very well. And I think sales is something that can be done really poorly and can be done really in a way that doesn't feel very good. And I feel like your style really resonated with me, and we obviously like share interests and connections. But I thought, I think I need to get some advice here on what I'm doing.
Cool. No, I love that. What were some of, I guess, the core challenges that were coming up for you? I know you did mention a couple there, but at the same time, like, what were some of the main pieces that you found you were, I don't want to say struggling with, but things that you're just like, oh, this is like kind of getting in the way.
Yeah. I was not, you know what I was doing? I was waiting for people to ask for a very specific thing from me instead of leading with what I could do for them.
Interesting.
And I think in doing that, I was underselling my abilities or my value by just waiting for people to come to me. And I think that's a confidence piece. And, you know, your newsletter, Internal Success, kind of speaks to that, which is like the external stuff comes from the work you do internally.
Yeah.
And I think one of the challenges that I think probably a lot of people going into consulting for the first time experiences, well, maybe I don't have the experience to do this, or maybe I need to have one more role before I could do this. But, you know, seeing learning how to consult, learning how to sell, learning how to run your own business as a skill that I am learning helped me kind of reframe, well, why would I think I could just do this out of the gates, having never done it before?
Yeah, love that. But okay, so I know when we first connected, and I want to kind of pump your tires a little bit here. I think you had a challenge seeing all of the great things that you were doing or that you had done, Like you
Hmm.
actually have a lot of experience building some significant brands. I don't know if you
Hmm.
want to talk about those at all. Like what were some of the gargantuan results that you accomplished? And I think that's
Yeah.
one thing that we did talk about that was like, hey, like you're really good here. You really did some good work. Um,
Hmm.
do you want to speak to those at all? Like what were some of the big projects that you worked on, if you can?
Yeah. Yeah. So my experience has come from I worked as a copywriter, I've worked in a digital
Mm-hmm.
studio. I worked in a brand studio. That was really where I kind of cut my
Mm,
teeth on building really authentic, cool brands. And that experience, we picked up a lot of awards. We were ranked the number 4 independent brand studio in the world by DNAD, which is very exciting.
cool.
Um, and so I got this experience of really working with like world class creatives, businesses that wanted to do some really interesting, bold brand work, and got to see how
Mm,
you do that over and over and over again. That's the great thing about being in a studio.
yeah.
Um, from there, I moved and was recruited into a role where I went to build a brand in house for a startup. And so, soup to nuts, like brand identity, brand voice, brand action, brand behavior, and really was in an industry where we were riding a wave of growth where we could grow really quickly. And we used brand to accelerate that. So, we were a fund that we doubled our growth. Excuse me, we're an ethical investing fund. So, ethical investing is an industry that's been growing steadily. But what we did was go in and build a brand to help people really feel the power of money and feel what they can make, the kind of change that they could make with their money. Um, and so in that role, I got to see the power of brand to drive growth and took the business to $1 billion in funds under management. And then the strength, yeah, very cool. The strength of the brand then allowed the business to acquire many other businesses. So by the time I left, it was $10 billion in funds under management, with the smaller brand actually being the one to drive the investment dollars and the growth of the larger fund. So that to me again just underscored like brand can have a tremendous impact
Yeah.
on business. Um, and I think in the branding and marketing world, brand can be this really fluffy piece of like, it's just colors or it's just voice or logo. But I
Yeah.
come at it from a slightly different angle. And that's kind of what I try to bring to my clients, which is let's make this
Mm,
really work to drive your bottom line and connect to people.
and yeah, it's so much more than just like the colors and the logo. It's actually you're driving trust. Like, and to have $1 billion under management, right? People got to trust that this brand is worthy of something. That's cool. I know, I know when we spoke about that, I think that was a big thing for me that I wanted to, I guess, drive home with you. It's like you've done some cool things. Like you've really
Hmm.
done some great work, and I think many people would vie to work with you. They're like, oh my gosh, like she's done some big amazing projects, and like it's how do I say this when we do them ourselves, we don't necessarily recognize the massive impact that it
Hmm.
had for other people. So I think that
Hmm.
was a really big thing for you is just seeing your value. And it's like, wait, like I can actually provide this to other people. I can actually create a huge impact. That's interesting. So
Yeah.
I guess from your point of view, when we spoke, what were some of the, I guess, strategies and insights that you gleaned from my end? Like, what were some of the things
Hmm.
that I helped you instill?
Hmm. Yeah. Well, I think one of the questions you asked me was about my sales process,
Mm.
to which I probably said, "What process?"
Yeah, what is that?
Yeah. Um, and I don't know if this is exactly how the conversation went, but I remember thinking I probably need to have some very clear things that I always do and follow up with people so that I know what's actually working when I'm having a conversation with someone I might work with. Am I
Yeah.
following up with a couple of offers? Um, the other thing that I remember talking about a little bit was goals and pricing and
Hmm.
what my end game was. And for me,
Yeah.
it's doing really interesting work, and not having to be uh, glued to my desk 24/7. Because I think to do
Mm.
creative work, you really, for me, it's really important that I'm outside and I'm out doing interesting things and I'm spending time with friends and being a whole human, like we all should be.
Yeah.
uh,
Yeah.
and working backwards from that to get to the kinds of clients I want instead of just taking anyone that might give me some money. It's figuring out how
Yeah.
I can
Yeah.
make the
Yeah.
best and find the people that want that value.
Yeah. I dig that. If you don't mind, how did
Mhm.
you apply those strategies? Like anything that we talked about on that call, what did you apply and like what did you notice as an outcome?
Yeah. So one of the things that I think we spoke about was people I've worked with before and
Hmm.
thinking about who is most likely to kind of work with me, and that obviously is always going to be people who already know you. Um,
Hmm.
and so I became a little bit more targeted in who I was speaking to and how I was framing my offers.
Yeah.
I think our conversation helped me get a little bit clearer on my pitch, which is
Mm.
I help businesses connect brand to the bottom line, and this is what I've
Mm.
done. And if that's something you're interested in, we can have a chat. So I think it just helped me condense my pitch a little bit, and so that flowed through in conversations. So I've got a little,
Hmm.
set of things that I want to make sure I cover with people. Um,
Yeah.
and it also gave me the confidence, I think, to follow up some people that I had previously spoken with about engagements to just ask again. I think that's something we talked
Hmm.
about was, you know,
Hmm.
asking once and getting turned down is not a no. It's a not yet.
Yeah. Yeah.
um,
Not right now. Yeah. That's awesome.
yeah, and just taking a little bit more of a growth and learning mindset to it instead of beating myself up that like, oh, I didn't close this engagement that I really wanted to work on. It's just a
Mm.
learning experience.
I love that. So, and I guess on the tail of that question, what improvements did you see like on your day-to-day operation? Like what things did you start noticing that you were doing with just a new lens?
Hmm. Yeah, I I got a little bit more serious about people that I wanted to work with. Um,
Hmm.
having kind of a target list of, I think it'd be really great to work with these people and we've had good
Hmm.
conversations and maybe I should be a little bit more systematic in following up and
Yeah.
just keeping track of where they are. I also, it wasn't an immediate result of our conversation, but I think our
Yeah. Yeah.
conversation kind of started me thinking about this was um, building different ways for people to work with me. Because what I was finding was there were people that
Mm.
I felt like we could work well together, but maybe my pricing or the structure of
Hmm.
engagements wasn't quite right for them. And so I
Yeah.
started putting that into proposals. And what happened
Mm.
was people then were a lot more interested in the things that were structured, the
Mm.
new things that were structured. Um, and that showed to me like, oh, I wasn't pitching the right kind of engagement.
Mm.
And
Interesting. Like the presentation was kind of off in the past. Like you still had the essence of everything, but it was just like, yeah, you repackage it in a new way.
Yeah, yeah, and making it really easy for people to say yes. Um,
Hmm.
so I'll give you an example.
Yeah, yeah.
Uh, I followed up with a client that I really wanted to work with, had like strong values alignment, really interesting client, and was just very responsive, was able to lock in a
Mm.
couple of conversations that felt really good, did a workshop, and then shared, a couple of ways we could work together.
Hmm.
And that went ahead. And I think it was just a bit of, how do I put this? I think it was just the confidence to go and say, I can
Hmm.
help you in this way. I can help you. Um,
Love that.
and it wasn't aggressive. Like I'm not beating down people's doors
Yeah,
saying I'm
yeah.
not taking no for an answer.
Yeah, yeah.
Uh,
It's just knowing. It's like a knowing. It's like, wait, I can support you in this area.
yeah, yeah, exactly, exactly.
Interesting. When I
Um,
think
and
this
that,
is a piece of our
mm,
conversation, it's like a lot of newer consultants and even existing consultants, we struggle with self-worth.
mhm,
We know we're good. Like if you look at our track record, we're like, oh yeah, I'm good. But if you actually on the day to day, it's like, ooh, like, is this gonna work? Is this like, as a marketer or anybody in like brand or that kind of world, it's like you always face rejection. So it's like sometimes I
yeah,
think we wobble in ourself, yeah, our self worth of knowing that like this is what I can do and I'm really good at it.
totally.
Hmm. I was going to ask if you received any other feedback from different clients on your new
Mm.
approach, like in just your new way of packaging pricing. Like, was there different sets of feedback that you hadn't seen in the past after you changed things?
Yeah, I put it out. I put a little teaser out in my newsletter and I got some
Hmm.
interest. And
Yep.
that to me said, this is interesting to someone. Um,
Yep.
Sometimes it was more other consultants than necessarily clients.
Yep. Yep.
But I think more than getting feedback from potential clients, I think it also helped me to see clients in a different lens of like, well, they might not be able
Mm.
to invest in this particular way of working together, but actually they could be a really good candidate for this. And so kind of finding that product market fit helped me to go, I know where to put
Mm.
this, the people that are going to be interested in this potential offer. And this potential client is going to be a different offering. So I think it's helping me get a little bit clearer on like my channels, kinds of conversations I have with
Mm.
people, and having more confidence to have those conversations because I have something that I think will work for them. Because I think
Mm.
previously I was a bit hesitant to pitch the kinds of things that I was doing for my kind of higher budget clients because I just know that smaller businesses aren't going to be able to work with me in that
Mm.
way. And so just being a little bit more dynamic and learning about how I price and structure
Mm.
things has given me more
I dig
confidence.
that. I dig that. And then it kind of can like it directs that directs your overall conversations, your day-to-day conversations that you have with people, the overall confidence that you have in the pricing and the offering. You kind of know which way to push and pull the conversation. Like
Yeah.
in regards to getting the client the best result and getting you the best results as well.
Hmm.
So that's
Hmm.
cool. I love that. So
Yeah.
what has been the most rewarding aspect of this transformation? Because it's like how do I say this? um, from my perspective, it was like, wow, like you went from like kind of hesitant to like, oh gosh, like I have all these skills to you started pricing and pitching things
Hmm.
like pretty
Hmm.
quickly
Hmm.
within, I don't know, I'd say within 2 to 3 weeks, you had some good conversations going on. So yeah,
Yeah.
what has been the most rewarding aspect for you and personally and professionally?
Yeah. I think I think just setting down the the kind of overthinking and anxiety. and
Mm-hmm.
just
Mm-hmm.
going with something.
Mm. Yeah,
um,
yeah, yeah,
I think I'm not consulting because I'm obsessed with learning how to consult. I like to do the work
yeah, yeah,
itself. So the
yeah,
reward is like
100%.
getting into the engagement and then getting into those conversations with interesting founders and business leaders for me.
Yeah.
Um, and pretty quickly that first engagement that I did was super fun. Like I got to meet with
Mm.
in the running industry, got to meet with runners, talk
Cool.
shop, I think provide some really quick, immediate value, which again is like my driver is I really enjoy seeing businesses grow. I enjoy having really like um, authentic, like honest conversations.
Yeah.
And so I was able to get into that pretty quickly. So yeah,
It
it's
brings
just
you
like
back
finding,
energy.
yeah, totally, totally. I was super stoked to do that work. And,
Mm.
wouldn't have happened if I hadn't had my sales funnel, I guess I'm learning this language,
Yeah.
but like the
Yeah,
funnel of
yeah.
having a newsletter, of having a scaffolding for these conversations, and then having the
Mm.
confidence to just say, well, this is what I do, and you can work with me if you'd like to.
Mm.
And then having that all kind of work out. That was sort of my first experience with bringing a client in um, that wasn't somebody I'd worked with before.
Hmm. I love that you use the word scaffolding. I come from a construction background, so I picture a newsletter without a scaffolding. And it's like you can't reach, you can't get that high without having the structure to climb, to like go through, to offer. That's cool. I dig that.
Yeah,
So,
yeah.
okay, what advice would you give to other consultants that would potentially be struggling with similar challenges, that could be facing, I don't know, some of the challenges that you were facing at the beginning?
Yeah. This is this is so much easier said than done because I feel like people probably said
Of
this to
course.
me, and I just had
Yeah.
to, my dad says some
Yeah.
kids learn it in class and some kids have to take the field trip. I took the field trip.
Yeah. Yeah.
um,
Of course.
I think I actually think mm, having a conversation with somebody to talk about like
Mm.
what you've done is really
Hmm.
helpful. And maybe it's just with yourself journaling a list of like what are the wins that I've had and what are
Yeah.
the characteristics that I've brought to like help make those wins happen. Um, and then what do I want to do with that? Like what piece of that success do I want to bring to other
Hmm.
people? I think is probably a
Mm.
helpful internal exercise to do to
Hmm.
say this is where I'm going to get pointy. And then I think being willing to keep a pretty flexible and open mindset about
Mm.
what what that offer is. Like I've gone through many
Hmm.
iterations of I'm going to sell this, that, and the other, but then get out really quickly and start talking to people. And this is like
Yeah.
marketing 101. It's so hard to do for yourself. But the more conversations I
100%.
had with people, the more I learned this kind of client doesn't have the kind of money to work in this way, or they're not ready for this kind of work. And it just,
Mm.
it helps you get clear on your market, which again is marketing 101. But I think rather than like spending months overworking your pitch, just starting to talk to people
Hmm.
and then try something new every
Just
week.
putting it in front of them. I think that's the
Yeah.
biggest thing that many consultants struggle with, is they want to have this perfect pitch, and it's like it's
Yeah.
okay to have it a little like rough around the edges, and it's like it's not perfect because you do want the feedback, you do want the insight to be like, "Oh, I'm falling short here," or "Oh, this really hit home." And then from there it's like emphasize this, cut that. But you don't know until it's in front of people, until it's actually in the marketplace. Like the market kind of dictates what direction you go. You can have an idea of where you want it to
Hmm.
go, but then the
Hmm.
market gives you the feedback on like, oh, this, I dig this. That's interesting. I love
Totally.
that.
uh, this is another woman that said this. but she said something along the lines of like, the less human you are, the more you commoditize your services, and the less human you are,
Mm,
the easier it is for someone else
I dig
to
that.
do what you're doing. And that really stuck with me. Like, I want people to want to work with
Mm,
Amanda, not want to buy a brand package. And I think, like,
mm-hmm.
I really enjoyed our conversations, and I like your take on
Yeah.
things, but I'm not necessarily
Mm-hmm.
going out Googling like how to sell, how to consult. It
Mm-hmm.
is a relationship game,
Dig that a lot.
you know? And I think we maybe that is part
Absolutely.
of like consulting is like you can sanitize away the humanness of it, but actually
Yeah.
we're just humans who want to work with
Yeah.
other
Well,
humans.
if I think about some of my biggest contracts, nobody really came to me because of what the brand was in itself. Sure, the brand added a bit of authority, but they came to me because of who I was and how I was showing up for either others or what they heard or how I was showing up online. So it's like, yeah, they were attracted to the human presence. Like
Hmm.
it sounds cheesy, but like B2B isn't B2B, it's human to human. It's
Oh man.
literally like it's you and the decision maker and that's it. Like that's all it is. It's not two brands talking to each other. It's just it's just two decision makers just like hashing it out, figuring out what's the best next steps. That's cool. I dig that. So, okay, how do you feel about the importance of seeking external advice and support? Like, because I think, how do I say this? I want to add to this actually as well, even just asking you the question. I think even in my realm, when I was running really big marketing campaigns, it took my partner to tell me that, like, she's like, you realize, like, you're managing like two seven-figure budget campaigns, like, you're managing millions of dollars in ad spend. I was like, huh, yeah, I guess I am. I was like, if I looked at it on a monthly basis, yeah, we were spending 70 to 100 grand a month, but I didn't really notice that in the grand scheme of things. We've been with this client for 4+ years. It's like, yeah, we've spent like four and a half, $5 million for them. And, but it took that outside perspective to be like, oh, yeah, I guess I am doing some like cool things here. But on the short timeline of being in the weeds, it's like, yeah, I'm just like, we're running a campaign.
Hmm.
But the reality of it is it's so getting that external perspective. I know you mentioned it earlier. It's like that was huge for me too. It's like you
Hmm.
can't see what you don't see, and then somebody else sees your brilliance and your greatness, and it's like, oh wait, like you can actually like that's really cool. So I guess yeah, to reel back to the question, how do you feel about the importance of seeking external advice and support? I know you answered it a bit, but I'm also curious if you have anything else to say.
Yeah. I have a lot of thoughts. I'm a big believer in like getting support and coaching. I'm
Mm-hmm.
like former athlete. I am
Oh,
I have a
cool. Yeah.
strong bias towards learning. And I think
Yeah.
having support and accountability is like it's investing in yourself. And I think
Mm.
that's the, I think that's like the most important thing. Um,
Yeah.
is to be building your own skills and having the support of somebody who's either been there before or can just provide a different perspective. And like you said,
Yeah.
your partner said this thing to you, and I've had my partner say things. I think I told you this. He said,
Yeah.
are you even promoting your newsletter? Have you told anyone you write a newsletter?" And I said, "No." And he said, "Why not?" So
Yeah.
there's beauty in having somebody who can help you get out of your own head. Um,
100%.
but I will say this: I think there's also a piece about um, I've experienced this where I've almost had so much support that I haven't had to back
Mm.
myself. And there's a point where you have to say, I am just going to own
Yep.
this and I am going to step into it. And a good coach or a
Yep.
good support system can help you do that. But
Yep.
there's no like substitute for the internal leveling up.
So, okay, is there anything is there anything else that you would like to share about your experience? Like anything else that we didn't cover? Kind of wrap it up, but
Mm,
yeah, any closing remarks?
oof. I think uh, uh, maybe I just want to reflect conversations that I've had with a lot of people over the last
Hmm.
3 to 6 months. I think it's I think it's a tough market. And I think
Hmm.
a lot of people are considering consulting that haven't maybe ever considered it before. Like that's where I've found
Hmm.
myself.
Hmm.
And I think there's a lot to be said for, something that you told me, which is like recognizing that there are ways of thinking about this and ways of learning this that, you don't innately know. Um, so I think like I would just offer like compassion to myself and compassion to other people who might be sitting there thinking like,
Mm.
I don't know how to sell and I'm trying to consult and I have all this experience. And I think it's
Yeah.
worth just recognizing that this is like a new phase of learning and growth, which to me is really exciting. But it's also
Hmm.
really challenging and just to like
Absolutely.
recognize.
Absolutely. I 100% agree. This is awesome. Well, thank you so much for taking the time. I mean, I think this was an awesome conversation. This went a lot better than I expected. So thank you so much
Good.
for, yeah, thank you so much for taking the time. I think it was, yeah, it's been amazing getting to know you, and I'm really excited to see what you keep producing. Like yeah, you're on a really great trajectory. So keep up the
Yeah.
awesome work.
Yeah. Thank you so much. So fun.
Awesome. Talk to you soon.
Okay.